Yo, what up? This is D Knight, and you're listening to the Pardon the Interaction podcast. My oh my, we've had so much going on. For starters, in case you missed it, we've got a new addition to the Pardon Pie family, Tara Dublin. Make sure you go follow her on Twitter at Tara Dublin Rocks. Also, pick up a copy of her book while you're at it. Make her day, The Sound of Settling. A very fun and interesting read compared to the things we talk about on this podcast. But yeah, we're heading toward the do or die time for the 2024 election. Go ahead and hit up JoeBiden.com. Get that man like $1 a month or something. Help his campaign staff up and get prepared to try and save our democracy. And make sure to grab like one other person you know and tell them about the podcast. Make sure they subscribe and tune in every single week. We got a lot of things coming up for you this year. We need all the support that we can get. So if you do your part and help us grow our audience, we'll do our part and help elect Joe Biden in 2024 and save American democracy. And this is the Pardon the Interaction podcast. Okay. All right. So we're going to do the we'll invite you in, listeners, behind the scenes again. Okay. I typically like to have this podcast be semi lighthearted, right? We discuss these fucking emotionally draining, just harrowing topics on a weekly basis. And the only way to make that digestible in such a way that you don't lose your mind is for us to like find the entertaining bits and poke fun at it so you don't go fucking insane with how crazy all of this news is. So typically that involves like, I guess I try and curate the topics in such a way that we don't go down too dark a path. Well, we went down too dark a path on the previous episode.
Sorry, that's my fault.
No. You were not to blame for that. You're not to blame for that. Do not blame yourself.
The world is dark.
No, and it's look. We appreciate
this story. This story is so universal that, like, except for the justice part.
Yeah, that's the one. That's like the one redeeming quality is like you're one of the few people who've had to deal with that type of experience, but actually see the perpetrator face criminal justice.
It's just this sisterhood that like shouldn't have to exist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we
100%.
I appreciate you sharing your experience and cause just, I mean, it's gut wrenching. Just if you're listening, sorry,
P, don't cry.
No. It's all good.
Can I catch you on the Zoom too?
I don't feel like
oh shit, and we're gonna lose her to the edible any minute.
Well, yeah, probably so. It's all good.
It's in, Carol.
But I feel like if more individuals who were skeptical of women's experiences in this department had the opportunity to experience the way you shared your story, and then consider that could be, their mother or their sister or their cousin because everyone everywhere knows a woman. But also, sadly, it's entirely possible that at least one woman that has been through a similar situation, and that's what's so heartbreaking. And I just wish people could have a little more sympathy. All right, side tangent about that over. But again, back to the idea that I like to keep the podcast light. So it's to make it digestible for you as an audience, but to also make it bearable for us as podcast hosts. Cause like I said, we are fucking traumatized by this shit. This is our therapy session as well. And I don't mean to speak for both of you on that. Maybe you two feel differently.
Oh, no. Didn't I just say the same thing? Okay. It's safe to say I still feel that way several minutes later.
All right. I was just making sure, like, I don't want to put words into your mouths.
That's true because we're free to nothing. That was about to... I'm eating cheese.
Cheese is fucking fantastic.
So just in case anyone was wondering, my ex-boyfriend who worked on the show, obviously Ben Stiller.
Okay, so yes, if you've been listening to this podcast since its inception, like what I'm referring to, like the vibe we try to create, like now that you think about it, it's like they do kind of steer away from like the dark shit, and they try to keep it light and funny and like intermingled like jokes and non-serious topics and tangents and veer off from the new. That's why we do that.
And while we already have a sponsor, if you just want to send us money, like as a gift, that'd be fine.
Okay, so all right. Side tangent number 2, also behind the scenes. So we're not doing this for money, and we're not even asking you for your money. But if you would like to support the podcast and support Ty's cheese habit, what you can do is click on the episode.
Cheese is expensive.
And whatever inflation. Whatever podcasting app you're using to listen to the show, you check the show notes. There should be a link where you can support our podcast. You click on the link, you sign up, subscribe to the podcast. I think you can donate as little as, $3 a month or something, up to 5 or 10, some such increments. If you'd like to support the show, feel free. We're not asking you to do that. We just, if you,
this wasn't planned. I just felt like mentioning to you that,
because Carol brought it up. So it's been in the show notes. I just don't bring it up because I don't care about your money.
We're operating at a loss currently.
But well, the reason why I just continue down this path is because there was one person who did subscribe to support the podcast with $5 a month. And I just wanted to thank Sally Sheck for being such a loyal,
thank you, Sally,
a loyal supporter. So if you do want to support the podcast and you do subscribe, please put your name in the field where you
thought it was
subscribe to the podcast.
I don't know. It was kind of crunchy. I don't know what that was.
It does sound good. Yeah. If you'd like to support the podcast and you subscribe, make sure you enter your name in the name field when you sign up, and we'll give you a shout out on the podcast. Yeah, I just wanted to make that aside again. So hopefully maybe we can get back to some semblance of emotional stability so we can tackle some of these fucking news topics of the day. And I will try to warn you in advance next time we do some heartbreaking, gut wrenching shit.
Okay. And just so you know what I'm doing, I got the original turtle here.
Ooh, that's awesome. See, you know what I have? Throw pillows.
Well, I got this spiky foam thing because it was HRA eligible and I had extra left over for the year.
Yeah, and you're like, well, you got to spend it on something or it goes away. So Carol's got the turtle.
My kids called it original turtle, so we just call it that.
Carol's got the spiky foam back support. I've got brown throw pillows. All right.
Yeah. I'm on Medicaid. I got to see if they offer that, Carol.
All right. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to count us back in, and I'm just going to leave this in for you listeners. You get to laugh at how fucking goofy and unprofessional this podcast is. It's totally fine. We don't care. All right. So kids, you ready? 3, 2. Hey, this is D-Night.
This is Carol.
This is Ty.
And you're listening to the Pardon the Insurrection podcast, where we cannot get our fucking shit together. If you're wondering why the insurrectionists are running free, well, it's probably because this podcast is not doing its intended purpose of bringing these motherfuckers to justice. We can barely hit record on Zoom. Nah. But before we get back to the news, I'd like to give a shout out to our sponsor, Colin from Sheets and Giggles. He the man. He hooked us up, agreed to support the podcast, sent us our goodie bag. It took him forever, and we made fun of him for that. But I must admit that once his sheets got here, and I got the opportunity to place them on my bed, I will admit that the only night of sleep I've gotten that was better than that in recent memory was the night that Trump was perp walked. So there you go. Get you some sheets from Sheets and Giggles. Sleep great at night, unlike Trump, now that he's under 47 different criminal investigations. Yeah. And his vice president is the first vice president in American history to testify against his former boss.
Sleep every night like Trump was indicted that day.
Oh, yes.
Right.
With
Yeah.
sheets and giggles.
You can, if you're tired of being part of the woke mob, get you some sheets and giggles so you can at least sleep good at night. All right. So,
Yes. I think my edible kicked in. So,
we got high tie.
Okay, so we better let Ty go first.
Can we do fucking Tucker? Like, I want to get that out.
Well, I
Let's
feel
go.
like it was really important to note, like, Pence. Anyway, you're right.
Yeah.
On to fucker charlatan. So a text message sent by Tucker Carlson that set off a panic at Fox on literally the day before a $1 billion trial by Dominion Voting Systems against Fox News. If you're listening to this podcast, I mean, my God, we've talked about that thing endlessly. Obviously, Fox has been party to all the fucking shenanigans and fuck shittery that led up to the coup on January 6th. So it was great to see these fuckers face some consequences. But yes, there's a particular text message by Tucker Carlson, very disgusting. Well, I'm just going to read it for you. So it was part of the discovery that contributed to a chain of events that ultimately led to his firing. Or so that's what's being reported in the media, and I'll get to that.
To justify it, at least. Yeah,
I'll get to that in a second, but we'll start with the text itself. Quote, a couple of weeks ago, I was watching, I don't know how to do Tucker Carlson's voice. You guys have to bear with me. Like, I can do a limited fake Trump impression. I can't do Tucker Carlson's so fucking annoying. I can't even do a limited fake impression.
Okay, let me give you a quick coaching on this dialect. Okay, as someone who's not qualified at all to do this, pretend like you have a very congested nose first.
I don't have to pretend.
Okay, well, be very congested. Act like you're on cocaine and very angry. If you've seen people who are on cocaine and they get like indignant about really stupid shit, and
I live on the border.
Have the coke laugh. He's got the coke laugh. And just sound really angry about dumb shit and sound really confused and also like you're pooping. Go.
I don't think I can pull that off. A couple of weeks ago, I was watching video of people fighting on the street in Washington. A group of Trump guys surrounded an Antifa kid and started pounding the living shit out of him. It was 3 against 1, at least. Jumping a guy like that is dishonorable, obviously. It's not how white men fight. Yet, suddenly I found myself, yeah, I know, right? I just, look, bear with me. These are Tucker Carlson's words. Like, you're getting an intimate insight into like how he really feels about this bullshit. Yet suddenly I found myself rooting for the mob against the man, hoping they'd hit him harder or kill him. I really wanted them to hurt the kid. I could taste it. Then somewhere deep in my brain, an alarm went. You know what? I actually can't read this fucking bullshit because it's so
disgusting.
It's beyond disgusting.
Like I'm sorry, but like, not to downplay the racism, but it's like not even the most disgusting part of what he said. It's like he wanted to see a
human die.
Kills his political opponents, like, or just put someone who disagrees with him politically.
All right, Ty, you told us that gut-wrenching story. The least I can do is finish reading Tucker Carlson's hateful, disgusting text messages. I can tough it out. I can handle it. All right, I'm not to compare.
Thug it out,
I'm just saying. I'm still having a moment from that. I'm trying to recuperate emotionally, and then reading this is just it's hitting a sore spot. Okay. Then somewhere deep in my brain, an alarm went off. This isn't good for me. I'm becoming something that I don't want to be. You don't fucking say. The Antifa creep is a human being. Much as I despise what he says and does, much as I'm sure I'd hate him personally if I knew him, I shouldn't gloat over his suffering. I should be bothered by it. Duh. I should remember that somewhere, somebody probably loves this kid and would be crushed if he was killed. If I don't care about those things, if I reduce people to their politics, how am I better than he is? Of note, and this is the most important part.
He said all that shit?
That's what he said in this. Yes.
It was the longest fucking, and I write
wait. Before we continue further, we got to get to the most important part. This text message was sent by Tucker Carlson on, you guessed it, January 7th, 2021.
Oh
Say,
my
I
God.
was going to bring that up the day after the fucking insurrection. I want.
Okay, so he needed to set the scene for his redemption arc.
Yeah, right?
Like, look at all the remorse I was feeling. You could see my character developing all in the course of one really long text, apparently.
Yeah, I really wouldn't call this developing a character unless you're like on the path to becoming a fucking supervillain.
Yeah.
Which he accomplished, technically. I mean, I guess he did pull a Voldemort. Although I'm not scared to say his fucking name. But yeah, so apparently that text, once the board at Fox became aware of it, it's insane that they only found this text message like the day before the trial. This is just bananas.
And they still fucking settled. Fuck that, man.
Well, this is probably part of the reason why they settled, right? Because it's entirely possible that a jury, if this had been introduced, would have hammered the fuck out of them, not just for the 1.6 billion the Dominion was asking for, but like the fucking punitive damages.
No, I know. I'm annoyed that Dominion settled.
Oh, you're annoyed that the Dominion didn't like continually. So the thing is,
I get it, but like, it sucks.
Yeah, I'm the same here, Carol. Like, I understand what they did, but at the same time, I'm like, I wish they'd have taken it to the mat, you know?
Yeah. Well, I don't want to defend Dominion, but like from Dominion's perspective. So apparently they had been bought out by, a venture capitalist firm some kind of hedge fund. Right. So the people who bought Dominion, they're not looking necessarily to make an example out of Fox News unless they have to. I mean, I'm sure there are employees that Dominion who would have been happy to potentially risk losing the 787 million that they got, in exchange for the opportunity to potentially get more money and punish Fox. But like, the risk to go on a trial is that juries are unpredictable. And at some point you do the calculation, like how much is it worth, for both Fox and Dominion to settle this out of court. And that's how they came to that number. Like, it's a risk for Fox to go to court because they could potentially have lost far more than $1 billion. And it's a potential for Dominion.
Why couldn't they get the settlement to have like an admission of, I don't know, or like an apology or a retraction?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know what the agreement actually was apart from the numerical figure, because I'm sure there were some stipulations involved. We'll never find out what those were. But anyway.
Do you think one of them was that Tucker Carlson be fired?
I don't actually. What I think happened with Tucker Carlson here is, if you haven't noticed, Fox is putting out all this potentially damning information about Tucker's time at Fox News conveniently after he's been fired. I mean, it's
I heard that they were doing Oppo.
Okay. Yeah. Oh man, we've got a long way to go. There's a lot crammed into this one particular topic. So first of all this dirt that Fox News is releasing about Tucker Carlson, it is earned. Tucker Carlson's a piece of shit, and I totally understand Fox is incentivized to make him look as bad as possible to justify his firing. But at the same time, the information that they're releasing is not the reason why they fired him. Like, this is the picture they're trying to paint. But I think personally the reason why they fired him is because he's the fucking fall guy.
Yeah.
Because Dominion, they settled with Dominion for, $750 million. But that's not the only legal suit that they're facing. And somebody's got to take the blame for this shit so they don't pay so much money settling out of court that they go out of business. So, heads have to roll. And, I am entirely certain that Rupert Murdoch was trying to, keep the collateral damage as far down the chain as possible. Can't do that. This is too big. So, I don't know. They're leading evening primetime hosts. had to get the axe because he's got all this dirt and he's going to make them look bad in future defamation suits. And then another reason why I would say that Tucker bit the axe is not because of this shit. Like, we all know Tucker Carlson's racist and sexist and misogynist. Like, that's nothing new. That's how he built his fucking audience. Fox doesn't care about that. One of the things they do care about, though, is the fact that his show was bringing in very little advertising revenue. So an individual that I'm semi-familiar with on the Twitter.
On Birdchan?
Yeah.
Birdchan.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's hence the name Blue Sky, Jack's alternative to Twitter. You know, you open up the cage, you set the bird free. What do you have left there? You have a blue sky. So that's yeah.
I'm
so
hungry. Is that like the munchies?
Yes, Ty, you ate a fucking edible. The munchies immediately come after that.
But did you eat dinner?
No.
So yeah, that'll do it too.
So a Twitter associate that I'm familiar with, Claire Atkin, who is a co-founder of a organization called Check My Ads, is part of the reason. So what they do is they go around talking to, you know, corporations and media companies about defunding these right-wing media figures and personalities who encourage and support violent activities, right? So they are part of the reason why Tucker's show is demonetized as far as ad revenue goes. Like, no one wanted to touch that shit other than like the pillow guy. And he's going broke. So even though Tucker Carlson had one of the largest viewerships in America, like, his show wasn't making any money. So, I mean, I guess to some degree you could say the shows before and after Tucker, they're getting carried by his audience tuning in for him. So in some ways he did affect ad revenue, but not nearly to the degree that his audience would suggest. So that might be part of the reason why they felt like it would be okay for him to be the fall guy. Like, he was.
Well, you know what? But I think too is because this is where they're up for they're renegotiating their carriage fees.
Okay.
I think that like.
Okay, for starters, I'm not entirely certain anyone listening to this podcast understands how Fox's revenue stream works. So advertising dollars, not Fox's main source of income. The way they get their money is through carriage fees. So, like, say you have a service provider like Comcast or something that does cable, or DirecTV with the satellite, right? These various providers, the way that you get, you know, your television content, they pay the stations a yearly rate, contracted out over the course of, you know, say 3, 4, or 5 years, right? So, we don't have to get too far off into the weeds into this, but like, as you can imagine, the most expensive network that you pay for is ESPN. I mean, I guess that probably speaks for itself, just the value of live sports and entertainment. Like, clearly it'd be one of the most profitable television networks. Well, oddly enough, second behind that is Fox News. They have a rate that is, I think, 2 times what either MSNBC or CNN is being paid by service providers. So what that means is, despite having a similarly sized audience, they make nearly twice as much money from these various providers. The current contract is about to expire. They're trying to negotiate the fees for the next contract. Well, with all this fucking shenanigans and and negative press and these fucking horrific
turn
stories,
that down.
It's putting them in a poor position to negotiate for significantly inflated carriage fees. And even though the service providers will negotiate those contracts with Fox, the customers are the ones who pick up those fees. So you're literally being taxed like an extra, dollar, whatever a month. Basically funding Fox News, even if you don't watch it, just because you subscribe to a cable package or a satellite package or whatever. And this is huge because say if Fox News were to renegotiate their fees, but with all the fucking shit going on surrounding Fox News, they are only able to negotiate a similar rate as like CNN or MSNBC. The company would fucking go broke. So I guess if you want to kill off Fox News, one thing you can do is call your fucking cable provider and tell them, hey, like, I don't want to pay any extra fucking money for Fox News. And it would in fact be even better if you could just pull them out of the package entirely. Like if you could just sign up for a Fox News free package, like
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, you could literally bankrupt Fox if enough people did that. So yes, Ty, thank you for bringing that up. It's as I said earlier, we weren't going to go off in the weeds. We've done nothing but go off into the weeds with this Tucker Carlson shit because there's so much to cover. All right, so Ty, one of the funny things that happened after Fox fired Tucker is their ratings immediately went into the fucking toilet.
Dude, like what? Like 2/3? Like literally.
Yeah. Okay, Carol.
Why can't they get their shitty like personal businesses to sponsor his show?
Because
is it that his audience doesn't have money?
No, it's because
they only have votes, huh?
Yeah.
Well, if you had been watching any of Tucker Carlson's show in the last few months, you would see that he's totally gone off the rails. Like he might as well just put the white hood on and call it a day. Basically, he's trying to whitewash January 6th. He's saying crazy shit about like replacement theory. Like he's trying to incite violence against trans. It's a very disgusting show. It's pretty bad. Yeah. So no advertisers, especially once that's been brought to their attention, want to be associated with that shit. Like it's just Tucker Carlson's not good for your brand, except for with like white supremacists.
Patriot Mobile.
I'm sick of that guy. Let's talk about the next thing.
Well,
unless we still have to talk about Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, we do, because there's more. So,
all right, let's get on with it.
Well, look, one of the good things about Tucker Carlson's firing, again, the ratings went straight into the crapper. So he was getting over 3 million viewers a night. As of a couple days after his firing, they were getting, what was it, in like 1.2 million tops on his show.
Yeah.
Also, I think one of the things I found really funny is that his temporary, so Tucker would lean hard into the great replacement theory. This idea that like us libs are pushing some kind of secret plot to have minorities replace white people in America. This is going to be fucking hilarious to you because what happened is after Fox fired Tucker Carlson, they replaced him with the black guy. So there's your great replacement theory in action. It's being perpetrated by Fox News. The irony never ends. All right. So another thing that happened after Tucker was fired, Newsmax, they decided to like pick up the slack. They declared themselves the true TV home for right-wing Americans, and their audience actually doubled after Tucker Carlson was fired.
I heard that. It's like listening. I heard that their fucking viewership, like now they're trying to like recruit him to come to they're like, hey Tucker, come here.
That's never going to happen. But yeah, so Newsmax's viewership, while small, in the like 150,000 range, literally doubled. Yeah, after Tucker Carlson was fired. And it's funny because, look, one of the things we learned as part of the Dominion trial was that Rupert Murdoch was fucking scared. Like, after they called the election for Biden or projected him the winner, they were scared that their audience was going to fucking run off to Newsmax and OANN. Well, it's quite funny. You fire Tucker Carlson and then your audience runs off to Newsmax and OANN.
And OANN.
It's wild. Carol, don't you like when bad things happen to Fox News?
Yeah, couldn't have happened to a nicer whatever thing.
Yeah.
Fun fact, listeners, it's midnight where I am.
Holy shit, Carol.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to keep you up all night as much as, I love spending time with you. I guess we'll try and figure out a way. So one of the other funny things that happened after Carlson got fired from Fox News, literally the same day, Don Lemon got fired from CNN.
Oh my God, Don Lemon. Holy shit.
One of these things is not like the other.
Oh man.
And then CNN tried to do this thing where they painted Lemon out to be some kind of difficult to work with. Like, I don't know. Like he's on the set of Yellowstone or something. Difficult to work with individual, trying to hit in. Maybe he has some misogynistic characteristics. I don't think that's, I don't want to defend Don Lemon in that department other than to say like what happened with Tucker Carlson is legit. And it sounds like what happened with Don Lemon is a hit job. And I'll give you an idea as to why that might be. Like Lemon's basically built his entire career off of being a, evening solo host. A couple months ago, they moved into a morning show and then they stuck him with two other co-hosts. Like that's the kind of thing you do when you're trying to inch a guy out the door and then you're looking for any reason to fire him and then you find one and poof, he's gone. So it sounds like a hit job. And I will say after a right-wing billionaire bought CNN and they're trying to take things into a more centrist direction. And by centrist, I mean like halfway between democracy and insurrection. So like not in a good way, like bad centrism. Not to mention the week after they fired Don Lemon, they offered to host Trump for a town hall. So that lets you know what direction CNN is going.